Well. We are so delighted that you're with us as we start a brand new series called Most Likely To. We're going to start today by taking a little journey down memory lane. And for some of you, this may be a little painful. For others, this may be a very pleasant stroll because we're going to go all the way back to high school, our senior year of high school. And if you're not there yet, you'll get there sooner than you ever imagined that you will. For me personally, high school was awesome. My senior year was amazing, not only because I had a great head of hair, a great head of hair. I mean, not only for that reason, I also lettered in 3 sports, and I got a seat at the lunchroom in the most popular kids' table. Had to work at it, but finally got there. And then the other reason it was a great experience for me is I got to ride shotgun in this car going to high school every day, a 1968 Ford Mustang convertible. Are you a little jealous, a little envious? Anyway, in preparation for this message, I went down in our basement and I grabbed this. This is my high school yearbook from 1975. It says it right there if you can't see it, 1975. And if you don't know anything about 1975, it was the year that there was a lot of good things. Bell bottoms, for example, huge, 1975. Video cassettes. The VCR came out in 1975. The movie Jaws was huge in 1970. A song, Captain and Tennille's Love Will Keep Us Together was huge also. A lot of other things. Super Bowl, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, near Pittsburgh. Super Bowl, 1975, guess who won? Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers. Do you remember who they beat? Sorry to bring this up, but they beat the Minnesota Vikings 16-6. Yeah, okay, enough of that. Anyway, I grabbed my yearbook, started just paging through it, and my goodness, the memories just started flooding my brain. I had about 150 classmates in my senior class, not a big school, not a small school, but I just found myself just paging through this yearbook, looking at picture after picture after picture after picture. And the question that popped up in my brain as I'm looking at my fellow classmates all the way back 1975, this is like 46 years ago or so, the question that popped up is this one right here. I wonder if they look a lot older than I do today. Actually, that wasn't the question, although I am kind of interested in that question. The actual question is this: I wonder how he or I wonder how she turned out. Because the truth is, I don't know. The truth is, I have not attended even one high school reunion. Outside of a very few of my classmates, I don't know what's going on in anyone's life. I don't know how they turned out. I don't know, for example, if they are rich or poor. I don't know if they are married or divorced or healthy or unhealthy. I don't know if they're successful or just getting by. I don't know if they're making a difference where they're at right now in the world or if they're living selfishly. And I certainly don't know if they're godly or far from God. I don't know those things. And Facebook, when I try to look people up, Facebook is a liar. We all know this. Facebook doesn't tell the truth about anybody whatsoever. But what I do know about them, these classmates from 1975, what I do know about all of us is simply this. There's only one thing. There's only one predictor of my future success, whatever that means. There's only one thing that is a surefire predictor of our future. One thing. It's our habits. Not our rabbits. It's our habits. It's those things that we do habitually over and over, those disciplines, those routines that we practice, that we repeat. In fact, here's a great quote that I hope you're caffeinated enough to kind of grasp. People do not decide their futures. No, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. Now, this is gold. This is brilliant. What this is saying is our habits, I think of it this way. Our habits are like pathways. Our habits are like highways that we get on. And after a period of time, we end up somewhere. In fact, here's how I decided to sum it up for you. Our habits take us somewhere. They take us somewhere good, or they take us somewhere bad. They take us somewhere that's healthy or unhealthy. Our habits take us somewhere. In fact, if we sat down and you shared with me your habits, I would be able to wow you with my ability to predict your future. You would be like in awe of my psychic abilities, which I don't have, by the way. But if you show me your habits, or if I show you my habits, we can look ahead and predict with great accuracy where we're going to end up. Our habits reveal our future. And maybe what you're thinking right now is, okay, Pastor Phil, but what does any of this habit talk, have to do with Jesus? And the answer is it has everything to do with Jesus. Because as followers of Jesus, as Christians, our goal, my goal, your goal, and if you're not a Christian yet, if you're not a follower of Jesus yet, just trust me on this. Our goal is we don't just admire Jesus, we want to be like Jesus. In fact, our goal, the bullseye of our lives is we want to become more and more and more and more like Jesus over time. Joel last week mentioned a big theological word called sanctification, the process of becoming more and more and more like Jesus. That's our goal. That's what we want to be like. So the question, what was Jesus like? What was Jesus like? And a lot of people, when they hear that question, they think, well, okay, Jesus, he wore a robe, he had a beard, sandals, and he walked around saying, "Verily, verily, I say unto thee." Is that what I'm supposed to be like? No, that's not what we mean. No, when we talk about we want to be like Jesus, we're talking about the Jesus that eyewitnesses like Matthew and John wrote about in the New Testament. We're talking about the Jesus that people like Mark and Luke, who gathered all kinds of information, did all kinds of research on Jesus' teaching and life. We're talking about that Jesus. What do we want to be? What's our goal as we look ahead at our future as followers of Jesus? We want to be more like that Jesus that we see in Matthew, in Mark, in Luke, in John, in the very first 4 books of the New Testament. And so if you're a little bit unfamiliar with Jesus and you want to know, okay, what does that look like? Well, there's 8 words that I'm going to throw out right now that are going to sum up who this Jesus that we want to be like was all about. And here they are, right here. Here's the 8 words that sum up Jesus. He was loving, he was joyful, he was patient, peaceful, kind, faithful, gentle, and self-controlled. You take those 8 words, add them up, and you have the essence, the epitome of who Jesus was. And here's the deal. As we surrender more and more of ourselves to God, as we allow more and more of God's Spirit to rule and reign in our lives, over time, those 8 words, I'm going to go back to them, those 8 words, this is what God's Spirit produces in us. So let me just ask you, as you look at these words, what would your life be like if you were more of all of these? What would your life be like if you were like 10% more loving, joyful, patient, peaceful, kind, faithful, gentle, self-control, or 20% more of these words? What would a you be like? What would a future you be like if you were more loving, if you cared more deeply for people? What would future you look like if you were more joyful, if you actually woke up every morning with an exuberance for life? Like you smiled 10 times more than you do right now. You laughed 10 times more than you do right now. What would a more patient you be like? A you that got less angry, less agitated. A you that actually waited 5 whole seconds before you beat the horn at the car in front of you after the light turns green. Oh man, that's Jesus like right there, right? Yeah. What would a more peaceful, serene, composed, calm you be like? What would a kind version of you, 10% more, be like? A person who's actually more empathetic and more compassionate. What would a faithful you be like? A more faithful you, a person who kept his or her word, a person who kept their promises. What would that be like? Or what would a more gentle you be like? A you that's less rude or less bossy. What would that look like? Or what would a more self-controlled you look like? A you that can walk away much easier from temptation. A you that can say no when you need to say no and yes when you need to say yes. Let me ask you, does that person that I just described, that you becoming more of those 8 words, does that appeal to you? All right, let me ask you this question. Would you like to be married to that person? And everybody's doing this, whether you're doing it physically or not. Yeah, would you like to be that person's neighbor? Absolutely. Would you like to work on the same team as that person? Yep. Would you like to sit next to that person at school? Yep. Would you like a house full of people who manifested those 8 attributes or qualities? And we're all going like this, aren't we? And so the $1,000,000 question is, how do I become that person? That person being, how do I become more like Jesus? And it all goes back to what I teed up earlier. If we want to be like Jesus, we've got to do what Jesus did. Jesus had several customs. He had several habits that in this series, we're going to refer to them as holy habits. Several that he did. We're only going to look at 3 in this series, but he did several things. And if we want to become more like Jesus, we've got to do what he did. We've got to copy his customs. We've got to duplicate his disciplines. We've got to replicate his routines. Why? Why? And the answer is because I become my habits. Think about that. I become my habits. I end up in life where my habits take me. Habits are like a highway. Habits are like a pathway. Once I get on them and repeat them over and over again, they take me somewhere. So I want to ask you a couple personal questions. I hope you don't mind. And the first one is a hard one. It goes like this. First of all, do you like who you're becoming? Do you like who you're becoming? Do you like the you that you are today better than the you that you were 12 months ago or 3 years ago or 5 years ago or 15 years ago? Do you like the who that you're becoming? Because if you don't, here's the good news. You can change. You can change if you change your habits. And the second question goes like this. Secondly, where do you want to end up? Where? Where do you want to end up? I mean, as you think about your life, the future you, where do you want to end up? Because again, you can get there. You can get there, and it all comes down to your habits. If you change your habits, you can change your life. Do I have your attention? Are you interested in getting somewhere worth going? Are you interested in seeing positive, healthy changes in your life? And all of us are going, yeah. So how do I get there? Let's do this, Pastor Phil. Well, hang on. Because I want to give you a little what I want to call a biblical heads up. If we're going to get there, if we're going to become the future you, if we're going to become more like Jesus, all of those wonderful 8 words that we looked at, it's going to take something. And the Apostle Paul, this guy who wrote like half the New Testament, this guy who planted church after church after church, he writes a letter to a young assistant of his named Timothy. Timothy was a leader in the church of Ephesus. And Paul writes him a letter. We call it 1 Timothy. We're going to look at a couple verses together. Here they are. Paul writes to young Timothy saying, don't waste time arguing over godless ideas and old wives' tales. Instead of arguing and doing all that, train yourself to be godly. Physical training is good. I think we need to hear that, don't we? Physical training is good, but training for godliness, training to become more like Jesus, is much better, promising benefits in this life and in the life to come. Wow. I think this verse right here, I can't think of a timelier couple of verses for us today after the last 12 months that we've been through than these words right here. I mean, seriously, and if Paul were writing us a letter today, how might he fill in this blank? Don't waste time arguing over. Yeah, that's a tough one, isn't it? What would Paul say to us? Do not waste time arguing over conspiracy theories. Do not waste time arguing about mask wearing. Do not waste time in stupid political arguments. Do not waste time ranting and raving over things that are beyond your control or listening to other people ranting and raving about certain things. Just quit wasting time, Paul would say to us. Instead, Train yourself to be godly. In other words, quit wasting time doing silly things or unproductive things, and instead, Paul says, train yourself. Now, the New Testament was written originally in Greek, Koine Greek. No one speaks it this day, by the way. But it just interests me. What is the word that Paul used for train here? So I looked it up. And it's this word right here. It's gymnazo. Literally, the word for train in the Greek language is gymnazo yourself to be godly. Now, guess what English word we get from this word? You're sharp, I know. Gymnasium. But what this word literally means, gymnazo, it simply means exercise frequently, intensely, regularly. And what Paul is saying to us, and he's got a lot of things on his mind. They had some Olympic game kind of things going on, so he knew athletics well. But what Paul's saying is, hey, we need to train instead of wasting time, we've got to take that time, redeem that time, and train ourselves to be godly. And so my question is, are we doing that? Am I doing that? Are you doing that? In fact, in the past 12 months, how well have we been training ourselves to be like Jesus? Are we more spiritually fit today than we were 12 months ago? And again, can we just all state the obvious? It's been a hard year. It's been a year that's been so hard on us emotionally. It's been so hard on us physically. It's been so hard on us relationally. And man, has it been hard on us spiritually. In fact, the truth about our lives is, for many of us, we've become sort of spiritually lethargic. We become somewhat spiritually apathetic. It's been so easy in the last 12 months that we've been through to develop some bad habits. My hand's up. Maybe your hand's up right now. And we can't change the last 12 months, can we? But the good news is we have a voice in the future. We have a vote in our future. Our future can actually be predicted. We have a say in it. And it all comes down to the habits that we choose to practice on a regular basis. You see, I can't change the past, but I can have a better future. Now, look at me right now. Whatever you're doing, just look at me right now. Because 12 months from now, you can be in much better physical shape. You can be far more healthy physically than you are right now. 12 months from now, you can be way more healthy emotionally. 12 months from now, your relationships, your key relationships can be much, much stronger. 12 months from now, you can be in a way better place financially. You can actually have financial margin. You can have breathing room. You can have more money in savings and less debt 12 months from today. And this is so important, and you can be more like Jesus. Those 8 words we looked at earlier, those can be more and more and more true for you. What does it come down to? Well, here it is. The difference between present you and future you comes down to your habits. Change your habits, change your life. Change your habits, change your life. It's not easy, but it's time. It's time. It's time. It's time for me. It's time for you. It's time for us to quit wasting time doing all these other things that we're doing, and that's different for all of us, what it is that we're wasting time on. And it's time for us to get in God's gymnazo. It's time for us to gymnazo. It's time for us to train ourselves to be more like Jesus, to be godly. Can I give you a little secret? This is just between you and I. Don't tell anybody else this, okay? This is, I'm gonna share Pastor Phil's secret of success, okay? Shh, don't tell anybody. Here it is right here. Successful people, they do steadily what other people do sporadically. Let me say that again. What's the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people, regardless of whether that's financial, physical, health, emotional, relationships, spiritual? What's the difference between healthy, successful people and unhealthy, unsuccessful people? It's right here. These people who are successful, who are healthy, they do on a consistent basis what other people don't do. And so I want to ask you, what will future you be like? What will future you be like? The good news is we can predict it. What's the answer to what will future you be like? Here's the answer right here. It's TBD, BMH. Is that helpful? No. So it's to be determined by my habits. What's your future gonna look like? What's Pastor Phil's future gonna look like? To be determined by my habits. And I wanna help. I don't wanna be your physical trainer. I don't wanna be your counselor or your therapist. I don't wanna be your financial manager. I really don't. But what I do wanna help you with is I wanna help you train yourself to be godly. I wanna help you become more like Jesus. So, what we've done is we've put together ready for this? We've put together a 28-day spiritual boot camp. I know, it sounds intense. And what it basically is I've taken the best spiritual practices that I've practiced over decades of time and put them together in a 28-day, it's gonna take about 15 or 20 minutes of your time every day. And I'm gonna ask you, will you join me? Will you join the Crossroads staff as we together for the next 28 days? By the way, in 28 days from now, it's Easter. So between now and Easter Sunday, will you join me every day in doing things, maybe developing some brand new spiritual habits that I guarantee you will make you more like Jesus? Will you? Will you commit to it? Will you commit to it? And before you answer that, I want you to sit back and think about it, because it's going to take some time. It's going to take some energy. So, I'm going to give you just a few minutes, and I'm going to ask you to lean in right now and listen to this song, and then we're going to make our commitment together.
Take me on the ride, God, I wanna go. I don't wanna stay here anymore. it's all for you, yes. And you are like a soldier, fighting for my heart, flying into battle, firing at the dark. You are like a soldier, you're fighting for my heart, flying into battle, firing at the dark. And you are like a soldier, you're fighting for my heart, you're flying into battle, you're firing at the dark. Oh, you are like a soldier, you're fighting for my heart, and you're fighting into battle. Oh, you're firing at the dark. Spread my wings and start to fly. I hear you speak at the speed of the light, and you give me something to live for. I spread my wings and start to fly. I hear you speak at the speed of the light, and you give me something to live for. Yeah, it feels so good just to be alive. You make me feel like a little child, and you give me something to live for. Yeah, something to live for. I feel alive, I come alive. Oh, something to live for.
Are you in? Are you in? Are you in? God wants to take you somewhere. God wants to take you on a ride. And like a good soldier, he's going to fight for you during this 28-day spiritual boot camp. Are you in? Are you in? Yes or no? Here's the deal. This is by invitation only. And you are invited. And here's what I know. Here's what I know. Future you is whispering in your ear right now, please, 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 please commit to this. Because future you wants to be more like Jesus. So, to commit, this is your opportunity. This is your invitation. Go to cr.life, and there's going to be a banner. It's going to say 28-day spiritual boot camp. Click that, and right there, you can become part of what God's going to do in the next 28 days. I hope you join me and join our staff as we go on this journey together. Let me pray for you. God, thank you so much. Thank you so much for Jesus, for the epitome of all those things we talked about earlier. And we admire Jesus so much. And it's our prayer that we would become more like him. So, God, as we embark on this journey together, may your Spirit fill us. May your Spirit be in the business of shaping us and molding us to being people who are more and more and more like Jesus. So we give you ourselves, we give you our lives right now, God. We give you the next 28 days, and we invite you to move, and morph us from the inside out. We pray together in Jesus' name.